to Eric Hates Games. This week, we're going to talk about a fairly self-referential topic, and that is higher education. Specifically, we're going to discuss the value of earning a college degree in games. My name is Eric, and this is what you should consider before attending game school. So, let's start with students in the first half of the episode, and then we'll talk a little bit amongst ourselves about expectations and realities. So, Andreas, can you tell us why are you getting a degree in games?
Well, it's a very wonderful question. I'm getting a degree in games for a multitude of reasons. One, I'm trying to get the skills needed to work inside of the industry, to know how the industry operates, what's required of me in the industry, and to make these worthwhile connections that you got to make, since connections are so important, especially for something I did, for one of my field, because I'm a narrative designer, and it's a little more niche part of game development, and a degree that would help give me the skills needed to, get a job is what I'm trying to say.
Sure, and you can be honest. Do you think we, in our games degree, do you think we have the classes needed or that would be helpful for you to get a job writing for games?
Oh boy, here we go. No.
Okay. Okay.
I think the program we have here right now is good. Don't get me wrong. It's a very good program for, games is a very general thing, but I feel like it can be improved in a lot of ways. And one of those ways that I think it could be improved is more humanities slots. Because right now in the game dev major, we only get 3 credits worth of humanities, so that's only one humanities class. And in in the industry, being a designer, being a programmer, it's not just about, those technical skills. You need to know a bunch of other stuff too. There's a lot of designers who know things about culture and history and anthropology, stuff like that. That really helps when making a game. And I think if we would have there are some classes in that degree that are kind of unnecessary. You can easily swap out data structures and algorithms for another humanities slot, or computer operating systems and utilities. I know that was swapped out, but back a few years ago, that was one of the things in there. Yeah. And you just swap out some of those classes with more humanities slots at least, and maybe an actual legitimate writing class
for games.
With games in mind.
Yeah,
that would go a long way in making the game dev program here a lot better.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and that's a discussion, just so everyone knows, that is being had. Whether or not action's being taken is questionable, but people are talking about having degree-specific classes. So instead of having to take math or pre-calc, you can take pre-calc for games.
Yeah.
And obviously that requires a lot of coordination, people, man hours, things like that to design and get approved. That's a good idea. I like the idea of having game-specific writing, writing interactive fiction games and then going on to write dialogue trees and stuff like that. And those are real jobs, right? So another guest we have, another student, is Balin. And Balin, you're a game student as well, right?
Yeah.
So what, if anything, do you expect your degree in games to get you?
I would expect to maybe get my foot in the door to let the rest of my portfolio prove myself.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, so some sort of entry level. Do you have anywhere in specific, or any specific property, any area that you wanted to get into?
I want to get into 3D modeling and animation.
Okay, cool. And are you making 3D models?
Yeah.
In school and out of school?
Not so much out of school, but for the most part in school.
Okay, cool. And do you think there are enough classes for that to satiate your desire for 3D modeling?
No.
You need more classes? So basically we need to become a 4-year institution, is what I'm hearing so far.
No, it's I feel like there should be 3D modeling classes and animation classes, separate.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe some more specifics.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to specialize in that, maybe some of the other classes might not be as helpful for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Great. That's awesome. And we have another guest here from industry. Anthony, do you want to talk to us about your games degree and what it got you, if anything?
Yeah. So I got a games degree from Worcester Polytech in Worcester, Massachusetts in 2013. It was one of the only game programs at the time that existed.
Okay.
If I remember right. It was like Rensselaer, them, and MIT had one, and USC. Those were like my choices. So as far as like the piece of paper, the degree I feel like means very little or nothing. Like your actual, like, you completed a game program. Like a lot of industries like engineering or like, I don't know,
Education.
like once you complete your degree, it's like good, you're off the job world. Like you're gonna go get a job with your degree.
Law.
Yeah,
Probably.
being a doctor, I
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
But like your game degree means ostensibly nothing. But what you do get is while you get your degree, you get experience you learn how to make a game, and then you get experience in making games because you should be making games for your classes. And you should be making games and art or programming or whatever outside of your classes. The one thing that the game degree does mean is that you completed something, which is honestly really important. Like getting through an entire 2 or 4 year program and getting the certification and like doing your finals and stuff shows that you have like the dedication to like finish something, which is important. And so does a finished game. It's essentially the same.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you experienced some similar stuff to what I did, which is the huge variance in how much effort and time different students put into it.
Right.
And then what I saw was a very direct correlation between how much time you put in while you were at school and how likely you were to get a job outside of school.
Yeah.
So there, unfortunately, I went to school with some people that wound up not getting jobs in games because it's a tough industry. There's not many jobs.
I wound up with almost everybody not getting jobs in games. Like it was rough. But we were also like really young.
Yeah.
We were like a very new program.
It's a new program and it's a new field too.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get stats on like, we put this percentage of students in the field. Is that real?
Yeah.
What if they get a job in biomedical, technologies? Is that a games job or maybe not?
Yeah, I think it would be closer to like is advertising a games job? Is making an AR app for a company a games job?
Right.
Or a VR simulation for architecture firms a games job? Like,
Right.
It's games adjacent. It's like almost a game. You can launch into it. It's an application, but it doesn't have a win condition. So like, how do you define a game?
Oh yeah, we do
What
it
a
every
fun
week.
discussion.
Every week we talk about it. Games, players, objectives, and rules.
But yeah, there's no stats yet on job placement.
Yeah, it's tough, and I see a lot of billboards that are like, my IT degree got me $70,000 million a year with no degree or some nonsense, and it's like, okay, that's probably not a games job. So speaking of non-games jobs and non-games students, Nia, can you talk to us about what you're doing at CCM and how it might relate to games at all? Like, how did you get to this couch?
Well, to start things off, I'm a first year student here.
Okay.
So, I'm here for computer science, and relating to the game industry, you can use, your computer science skills to become like a game developer or programmer. But let's say, for example, because in the last point, not everyone can get a job in the gaming industry, but you have a computer science degree. So in that field, it's actually really good to have like in your resume, because when you finish your degree and you graduate from college and you go out to seek a job, most companies will look through obviously your resume and portfolio and realize, hey, he's got or she's got a degree in computer science, and they see that as a good thing because it's a good fallback. And they, especially with technology advancing every single day, a lot of companies want to stay updated and they want to, keep moving forward. So that's why having a computer science degree is really good, because, everyone needs like a good maybe IT specialist or security, routing, and especially with VR being a more prominent thing now, people can use these programmers to make VR not just for games, but for the experience.
Sure. So like a Dairy Queen VR app.
Yeah,
where you're licking a virtual ice cream cone.
Yeah, like, why not? Cookies and cream is a great flavor.
You're gonna lick the phone?
No, you don't lick the phone. You lick the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's a free
sorry.
idea.
That's a free idea. That's a DQ classic. Yeah, so you're right. I don't disagree. A CS degree is going to give you way more options, and you can also work on games in your own time. That doesn't have to be your full-time job.
Yeah.
One thing that people who want to get in games don't really realize is that once it becomes your job, it becomes a little less fun. Waking up every day and going there. Would you agree with that a little bit?
I would agree with that a decent amount.
Yeah,
The whimsy is lost.
Yeah, and it's like in film too. Once you learn how to work a camera,
Yeah.
it's a little bit less interesting to watch. I don't know, the nonsense CGI stuff that happens in every Michael Bay movie.
Right.
Is just like completely blown up. Or when you watch a modeler who does all that work, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I know exactly how many vertices are in that robot, or some nonsense, right? The whimsy's gone. The veil is lifted.
Yeah.
The games. I had a tough time playing Last Guardian, random tangent, this weekend, because it's just so similar to Shadow of the Colossus, that I was like, oh, I really want to pet this giant monster, but also I don't want to do it for 20 more hours.
Makes you feel any better. It's not that long.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, games shouldn't be long. Everyone who's listening, don't make long
Yeah.
games.
Too late.
20 hours is too much.
Yes, 20 hours is too long. We need TikTok games only.
Persona 5,
Persona
Too
5
long.
is what, 60 hours?
100 hours average.
It's too long.
100 hours.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed
It's a shame.
all of that time. On the other hand, I'm playing Dragon Quest XI right now, and I love it very much.
Yeah.
But I'm like 20 to 30 hours in, and oh lord, I'm like halfway through the game, and apparently I'm going through it fast.
Wow.
I don't know how I'm halfway through. It feels like I'm like 3/4.
And are you in school for games?
Yeah.
Okay, have you learned anything that you can see in the games that you're playing?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
All sorts of little intricacies. One of the big things I've been noticing lately is sort of level design and how they sort of veer you to different areas
Oh, yeah.
through all sorts of little things. Some things are very subtle, some are very not subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some things could be like as simple as like a light shining down a path,
Mhm.
and other things can be as unsubtle as a giant yellow line highlighting where you're supposed to climb.
Sure, or like heads-up display, mini-map, little exclamation marks and yeah, giant arrows that point where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that this is my third semester as a game student, and conceptually, like, playing games, I understand it a lot more now. Even if I don't know how they program this, I understand like how stuff works a lot better now.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that will help you in making games as well?
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, who knows,
But
right?
it's very cool to see how, like, hey, I know how they transition to a new scene. I understand stuff with like how stuff activates, stuff with timers. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you definitely, the veil is still lifted and you get to see behind it.
Yeah.
So my experience in getting a degree in games is I got a degree in English, then I got a degree to teach, and then I taught English. And then I saw that there were degrees for higher education in game design, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And so games are great. I love games. So I got one of those, and I knew 100% the whole time going in that a reason that I wanted to get a master's in this field was to go back to teaching if I couldn't get full-time in games. And so I had that fully, available to me, because education, as we mentioned, is a job that, or is a field that does look at your degree and is like, hey, you should probably have a master's if you want to teach college. And I'm like, yeah, got one of those. And then level experience is a big thing. And to sort of segue towards the second half of what we're talking about today, while I was at school, I worked full-time on making projects and releasing projects. And this means like, I had a bunch of other part-time jobs, but I would wake up at like 6 in the morning and program for a few hours, then go to campus and program and test on devices and, try to fix broken things and things like that. And I think that in addition to networking, what you mentioned, is what helped me get job interviews and get jobs. Because for a full year, I dedicated to going to every single games expo and showing my games there, no matter how small my games were, board games and video games and mobile games, which are video games. But showing them at every single conference. I was at every single one on the East Coast, and that got me several job offers and several jobs, just being there and showing that I had made something that you could play. So if you're just joining us, we're discussing the value of getting a games degree and what that actually means. So do we want to go over some jobs that there are in games? Anthony, you want to mention a couple?
Yeah, I'll mention a few. So as a side note, my degree was split up into art and programming.
Okay.
So everyone learned design, but then you chose, like, I want to just do art, or I want to just do CS programming. And a lot of people that did programming got a CS double major, and a lot of people that did art got a fine arts major along with their thing, because they like overlap so much.
That's 4 years?
It was a 4-year school.
Yeah, that's nice.
So, but that's pretty much how people split up, I feel like, the game industry in their head, but it's kind of incorrect. Like, there's art, but there's a lot of art jobs. There's like a modeler, and there's an animator, and there's like, so starting with art, on the art end, there's like modeling, animation, tech art, which is like something that I do a lot, which is just like explaining how the art works to an engineer or an artist, because a lot of the times they don't know 100% like how their thing gets into the game, and you have to like write tools or like help them out. So yeah, modeling, animating, tech art, concept art, like UI is art.
Oh,
like
UI
a lot
is
of
huge.
UI stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's all basically like the art end, like very briefly. And there's a lot of specialties to all those things. Programming is pretty broad. You usually program a specific part of the game. I feel like at most companies, like you're on like multiplayer, or in my experience, like you're on multiplayer, you're on mechanics, or you're on UI, or you're on, you're on animations. Like getting the animations to play in the gameplay mechanics is like a job for like a bigger company. And then QA is
QA.
is usually where you'll start. Like you'll be like, I'm somebody who wants to work at your company, and they'll be like, okay, what do you want to do? When you say like, I want to do art or production or something, and they say, okay, do QA for a while, and then we'll decide if you get to do that thing.
Yeah, and QA is like you mentioned, it's an entry level job where you go in and you break the game as many ways as possible, and you have to explicitly log the ways that you're breaking that game so that the programmers can fix them.
It's quality assurance. It's like it's finding the bugs so that people can fix them.
Yep. Yeah, and it opens up to a bunch of other stuff, but that is one of the core entry-level jobs that you're going to get. Is anyone else interested in any jobs you can get with the games degree that might not be games?
Let me tell you also a bit about writing.
Yeah.
Writing. No.
So yeah, writing is you can apply it to anywhere, not just for games, but specifically for games. Writing isn't exactly something that's talked about a lot in the industry. We're kind of like on the back burner. Usually way back in the day, a lot of like writers were called in at the end of production when they wanted to just fill in some dialogue and lore bits. Now it's a little better where they bring us on in the beginning. It's like, hey, we're going to help design this world, design this story. And what I do is called, well, the fancy word for it is narrative design. And what I do as a narrative designer is I make sure that the story and all its narrative content in the game and the mechanics in that game are working hand in hand in harmony. Make sure one isn't overriding the other. For example, say you're playing GTA, right? And you have this mechanic. It's like, hey, you can ride on a jetpack, and it's like, well, there's really nothing in the story or the narrative content of the war that would support a jetpack. So now what you would have to do is, it's like, is there a narrative reason the jetpack is there? Does the jetpack have any importance inside of the broader world? So what I try to do is, you balance it and make sure, like, hey, we don't have any of these unnecessary mechanics that are cramping inside of our narrative content, and we don't just have a bunch of narrative content and our mechanics are sparse. It's like that little balancing act, and it's hard, but the results are very rewarding.
So that's one of the things that's actually really interesting about the games industry, as opposed to other industries that I've been in, is it moves fast.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like what you do, like the way that I learned 3D art is not the way you make 3D art now. It's like you have to keep up. It's totally different. So like you have to be learning as these new softwares come out, or as the new like pipelines and workflows come out, the new pipeline or workflow. So narrative design, like I had a professor that did narrative design in games since like for the NES, and narrative design when he started was write in the booklet what the game is about, because that's the only
Instruction
place
manual,
you
yeah.
see the story. And then he worked on like some racing game, and it was literally all in the booklet. It was a racing game, and then all the story was in the booklet. And then the next game he did was Titan Quest, and Titan Quest had a lot of stuff in a book that came with the game, but then they were like, oh, but there's also stuff in the game now. And then like that evolved to the point of where now like Mass Effect, like the entire story is in the game, in the narrative, in these like logs that are in it, and they're all written and they're all read, and like so what you think you're gonna do based on what you learned in school may change by the time you get in the games industry. And honestly, it's like on you to keep up. Like
Yeah.
you have to be learning the new stuff you should be learning every day.
Yeah. And some of it you'll learn out of necessity, and some of
Yeah.
it you'll have to just learn to be ahead. Like Balin, you talked about, getting a degree to separate your resume from others.
Yeah.
Like you got to have models.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3D
I plan on
models.
making like a portfolio on a website.
That's the number one thing that matters, is you need a portfolio.
Portfolio.
Yeah, make a portfolio.
Yeah. What's up, this couch? How's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
You got your portfolios ready?
Sure.
Do you know of any way you can have a portfolio?
Save everything you do.
Save everything you
Everything.
do. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you publish anywhere, or do you know anywhere you can publish?
.io.
Itch. Yeah.
Itch, Itch is a good site for that.
Itch is nice and free. You
That's
can post your
technically
games.
published.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's published.
What's that one? Squid something? Turbo Squid.
Turbo Squid.
Turbo Squid, where you can sell your models.
Yeah.
Yeah, Turbo Squid. What's the other one? ArtStation?
ArtStation, you can sell your models. There's also Gumroad. Gumroad is a place where you can like sell models, and you can also be like, this is how I did this. You can like make a video and be like, this is how I made this substance in Substance Designer, and then like give them the substance and charge them $10.
Also,
Oh,
if
wow.
you want to be an absolute mad lad, you can just make your own website.
You
On
can
like
also make your own-
Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Yeah, like
Sponsored by
Squarespace. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sponsored by Squarespace. Very important.
Building beautiful.
I
slogan.
This
I
is
had a
my
Squarespace site.
Squarespace.
I just Squarespace site.
had a Squarespace site because I thought it was important to have ericguadara.com.
Yeah, I have AnthonyMrusso.com. Don't
Yeah.
go to that website.
Yeah, also don't go to mine, because as soon as you get a job, you stop paying for the website
Yeah.
subscription. Websites are really important for getting a job. After you get a job, you should be working on things other than your portfolio. I mean, everything you do at school, everything you do at your job should be able to go to your portfolio. And yeah, so make a lot of projects, publish them, and if you're not working outside of class, you're not going to work when class is over.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's that weird thing where like I talk to my students at the beginning of the semester. I'm like, if you're here for a grade, that's fine. I have nothing against you. If you're here to get a job, you need to be working while you're here and while you're not here.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's tough because they have jobs, they have dogs, You know, dogs take a lot of time.
Dogs
I have a lot of dogs.
Yeah, I use
You
this.
have a lot of dogs, right? You gotta walk them.
In middle school, I think my dog quite literally ate my homework.
Yeah.
And they didn't believe me until I brought in the remains.
Oh, perfect. It was just you. You chewed up all the homework and spat it out on.
I mean, there were very clearly dog teeth marks, so.
So one piece of advice I've heard about applying for jobs once you have your portfolio is very difficult. It's that if you want to get a job, if you apply to 2 jobs a day, every day for 5 years, you'll get a job. Or vice versa. I think I messed up those
5
numbers.
jobs every day
5 jobs a day.
for 2 years.
Every
or 10
day.
jobs every day for 1 year.
Yeah, there you go. There's
Is it
math.
just math? So if you applied 100 jobs,
Yeah. If you apply to 100 jobs once, you will get a job. No, but seriously, anecdotally, I applied to well over 100 jobs and probably got under 10 interviews.
yeah, I recently changed jobs to another job in that industry, and I applied to like 50 jobs, and I had interviews at 5, and I got 1,
Yeah.
and I have a bunch of shipped Xbox games.
Yeah, so you have a bunch of
Yeah.
solid experience on your resume that's not itch games that you made while you were at school.
Yeah,
They're real video games on real consoles.
right, and finger quotes. They're pressed on a disc.
Yeah, it's on a disc.
You
so
can buy
it's
it at a
real.
Walmart.
Yeah, that's what we call real nowadays. That's a really tricky thing about games is that the end is really a lot of work.
Yeah.
Can anyone talk to that? You've made a game for games programming, Charles. Do you want to talk about the end? Like actually getting it to work and getting a build to work?
Yeah. It's frustrating at times.
Yeah.
My most recent project, Box Colliders. By the end of that project, I was missing about a solid dozen of them, and you could speedrun the game in about 20 seconds. So you got to remember that.
Yeah, the reality is there's like 1,000 things you have to remember.
Yeah.
And you're going to forget 100 of them.
It's tough for 2 reasons to finish something. Like, it's tough because it's just hard to finish something. Like being like putting all the mechanics you want to put into it and then it working is tough.
Mhm.
But then it's also tough to just call something done. It's really hard to be like, my game is done. This is a representation of what I wanted this to be, and I cannot work on it anymore. Because there's like a plateau where like the amount of work you put in isn't gonna make it that much better, but you're putting a lot of work in to get like that much better,
Mhm.
and you just have to call it. It's worth, how much is your time worth? Like,
I think a good example from something that is not games is our main man, George Lucas, with Star Wars,
Yeah.
I
who,
don't know about that.
up until he sold Star Wars to Disney, would continuously go back and edit all of the Star Wars movies because he wanted to make them perfect.
Mhm.
And actually, I think there was a more recent edit that Disney had from him that went up on Disney Plus or whatever the new streaming service they launched is,
Mm.
with like a few different changes.
And it's just in this pursuit of perfection
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
or very minor betterment,
Yeah.
right? Improvement by putting not just one cantina scene, but 7.
Yeah.
You need 7 cantina scenes and they need to be fully CGI'd.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
Graphics, really important if you want to sell your things.
Yeah,
Art
get graphics.
Get
Make
graphics.
friends with artists.
Yeah.
Or be one.
So that is a really important part of being at school. Is 1, you have a safe time and a safe space to make, and 2 is you need to be making friends with people that will do the things you can't do. Okay, and and people who can do things you can do. So don't just make a game by yourself outside of class. It's a lonely island. Make a game with someone else. Your friend from class. But yeah. All that being said, we had an awesome full half-hour discussion, and I'm sure we can go on for another hour. But
and if you make a game, make sure you can pet the dog.
yes, petting dogs is an important mechanic in every game. And today's real advice is take care of your dogs.
Good pupper.